Lesson 5, Unit 1, Project Evaluation. The next step in the Pdme cycle deals with evaluation. Depending on the type of evaluation, the most common steps would include the following activities. The project manager will define the type of evaluation is required. The project will develop a terms of reference, usually for hiring an external evaluator. The selected evaluator will conduct evaluation following the terms of reference, and the evaluation reports will be presented to the organization and shared with some key stakeholders. Evaluation is the third element of the Pdme cycle. In this phase, the organization, the donor, key stakeholders, and even the project team need to know if the project is delivering the intended results. During the monitoring phase, the project collected significant data to learn if the project is on track and if there are any deviations from the original design. The evaluation will collect additional data, and the results of the evaluation will help improve the next phase of the project or the design of future projects. Let's begin this lesson with a definition of project evaluation. A project evaluation is a process that attempts to determine as systematically or objectively as possible the relevance, effectiveness, and impact of activities in light of their objective. What the evaluation is doing is to determine if the contribution of the project intervention was relevant, effective, and contributed to achieve the final goal. It will also include recommendations to help the organization or the project make improvements. The project evaluation also helps key stakeholders, that includes the organization, management, donors, partners, and even the beneficiaries, understand how and to what extent the project is responsible for particular measured results. We know from the definition that an evaluation measures how well the project activities have met the expected objectives and the extent to which changes in outcomes can be attributed to the project. In order to achieve this, the evaluation phase is dependent on key components that should have been included in the design and monitoring phases of the project. An evaluation needs the data collected at the start of the project. This is the baseline data that will be used to compare before and after the project intervention. The evaluation will also look at the data collected in the monitoring phase of the project, the monitoring and progress reports, and other performance reports. Whenever possible, the evaluation will use the data from a comparison group in order to measure whether the changes in outcomes can be attributed to the project. The concept of attribution can be seen on this simple chart. At the start of the project, the baseline collects information on key indicators from two groups, one group that will work with the project and another group that will not work with the project. As the project makes progress, data is collected at various intervals from both groups until the end of the project. Under normal situations, there will be a difference between the groups that receive the benefits from the project and the control group. The difference between these two is what can be attributed to the project. The evaluation will determine if the observed changes in outcomes were caused by the project. An important consideration before starting an evaluation is to have a good understanding of the factors that determine the success of an evaluation. When planning an evaluation, the project and the organization will need to consider the following criteria. Relevance. Was the project a good idea given the situation to improve? Was the logic of the project corrected? Efficiency. Have the resources been used in the best possible way? Effectiveness. Have the planned results been achieved? Did the project deliver the expected results? Impact. To what extent has the project contributed towards the long-term goals? Have there been any unanticipated positive or negative consequences of the project? And sustainability. Will there be a continued positive impact as a result of the project when it has finished? The organization or donor will identify the type of evaluation that can best help answer those questions. Most evaluations are usually conducted at the end of the project, but need to be planned from the start. As the project makes progress, the data collected will help inform about each one of those factors. The development organization should follow the recommended criteria to ensure a quality evaluation. Relevance seeks to know if the project was applicable to the problem it intended to solve. The evaluation will seek to answer the following questions. Is the intervention appropriate to the priorities of the beneficiaries? Are the objectives still valid? Are the activities and outputs consistent with the project goal? Relevance basically asks if the project intervention actually addressed the real needs of the beneficiaries. It also includes if the intervention was applicable to the context and environment in which it operated. It's the area between what the organization thinks is important and what the beneficiaries are interested. Efficiency relates to the degree in which the project used the resources to achieve the intended results without wasting funds and time. It measures the variance between the project's original plans to use the resources and the actual performance. Evaluation will seek to answer if the project was completed on time and on budget, and if the project scope was delivered as planned and within the quality standards. The evaluation will look at the process to convert the inputs into outputs and will compare with alternative approaches to see whether the most efficient process has been adopted. Effectiveness means the ability of the project to achieve the planned objectives. An evaluation will seek to answer the following questions: the extent to which the project objectives were achieved, the factors that influenced the achievement of the objectives, and the factors that kept the project from achieving the objectives. An evaluation will measure how effective was the project in delivering the planned outputs and achieving the desired results. It will look at factors that contributed or limited the efforts to achieve the objectives. Efficiency focuses on the relationship between activities and outputs, while effectiveness focuses on how the outputs are able to contribute to the achievement of outcomes and ultimately the project impact. Impact is about the positive and negative changes produced by the project, directly or indirectly, intended or unintended. This involves the main impacts and effects resulting from the project on the social, economic, environmental, and other development indicators in the target group of beneficiaries. When evaluating the impact of a project, it is useful to consider the following questions: what has happened as a result of the project? What real difference has the project made to the beneficiaries? And how many people have been affected? Sustainability is concerned with measuring whether the benefits of an activity are likely to continue after the project has ended. When evaluating the sustainability of a project, it is useful to consider the following questions: to what extent did the benefits of the project continue after the end of the project? What are the major factors which influence the achievement or non-achievement of the sustainability in the project? Why we need evaluations. Here are some important reasons why the organization and the project needs an evaluation. Learn from experience. The lessons learned help the current and future project become more efficient and effective. Validate project progress. An evaluation provides an impartial assessment of the real progress of the project. Identify strengths and weaknesses. An evaluation helps identify the areas of improvement and areas that can be replicated in future projects. It is also the basis for future planning. Information from the evaluation provides insights that can be used in the design and planning phases of future projects. It is also an effective way to demonstrate the effectiveness use of resources and helps explain to donors and other key stakeholders what was achieved. One of the most important benefits of an evaluation is that it can help identify ways to improve the quality of the project, structure it more effectively, and make it more responsive to the needs of beneficiaries. An evaluation helps key stakeholders understand how and to what extent the project was able to achieve the expected results. The evaluation will look at the project indicators, obtain the data, and provide a final measurement. The evaluation will determine the actual performance of the project and will use the baseline to measure the changes that occurred from the moment the project started until it was completed. Evaluation will also determine to what extent the project is responsible for the expected results. The evaluation will seek to measure the extent to which changes in outcomes can be attributed to the project. The evaluation will use the data from a control group to measure the conditions with and without the project intervention. Attribution is a key word because it helps determine that the effort and investment that was done with the project has actually created an improvement in the lives of the beneficiaries. But projects don't live in isolation. There can be many other factors that could have contributed one way or another to the changes in outcomes. The evaluation will help determine to what extent the project was responsible for those changes. This is important, as it will help validate the logic of intervention and justify the investment in resources.